Welcome, everybody, to the Creature Cast, the official console creatures podcast. My name is David Petrangelo, and this week we are just moments from finishing watching Summer Games Fest, or at least the first opening presentation of Summer Games Fest, and we are going to be talking about it. With me for now is Steve. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. I mean, like you just said, we're moments after Summer Games Fest, and I'm still feeling the excitement from it. All the announcements. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. I'll save my thoughts on everything that happened, but yeah, pretty good start to the weekend.
Yeah, lots of stuff to get through. We're kind of going to go through our feelings as we go, I think, is pretty much what it is. We're just going to have a session of sharing our feels here right off the cuff. We haven't really had any time to think about it. It was maybe like 20 minutes ago that it finished, so you'll be hearing us having pretty instant reactions, I would say. Bobby is busy at work doing the hard stuff here. He is writing about some of the releases, more specifically Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, which we will talk about when he jumps into the episode. So we're going to save that for last, just like Jeff did in the presentation. So we will also have one more thing, and that's probably what it'll end up being. So I think what we'll do is we'll sort of let's go through sort of what we feel, how things went, how things kicked off in this initial I guess presentation, you could call it, and then we're not going to go through every game in a list, you know, from 1 to 50 or whatever it was. We'll go through some highlights that we want to talk about and go from there. So to get started, Steve, you said it was a good start to the weekend. How'd you feel it went?
Yeah, I mean, Summer Game Fest has always kind of been hit and miss. Obviously, this is an alternative, a replacement kind of for E3. So a lot has been riding on Jeff's back these past few years. This is the first one that's been live as well. So I think there was a lot going into Summer Games Fest 2023. And some of like the previous years, we kind of got the cadence. Okay, it's going to be a larger showcase, probably about 2 hours. There's going to be, you know, games. But what's the cadence of them coming out, like trailers coming out? Is it going to be a fast paced? Is it going to be almost overwhelming for the viewer? And I think this year, I'll confidently say that Jeff Keighley nailed the pacing. We got through maybe like the first half hour. I was like, oh, this is going at a really great pace. We'll talk about some of like the specific announcements, but just the way he was showing off the trailer, having like kind of like this lead in where he's actively explaining what the game is, who it's made by, stuff like that, really went a long way for me to feel engaged from top to bottom. And I think, with the exception probably of, you know, the Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth trailer at the very end, there wasn't that one big holy shit, wow, pop off moment. But everything else was tempered across the ballpark, like starting off with like Prince of Persia. I think that was a good way of kind of setting the stage, so to speak, and kind of setting expectations as well. Like if they were coming out with a 2D old school Prince of Persia game, that to me right off the bat told me, okay, this is the level of showcase we're going to get. It's not going to be, we're getting Elden Ring 2, we're getting this, we're getting that, we're getting Hideo Kojima coming out and announcing the next 3 games. It was going to be, this is just going to be like a very good, well-produced show, and I think Jeff nailed it this time around. I really wasn't disappointed, with the exception of like some odd things that we'll get into. Mainly something that I didn't even really notice off the top, but I saw it, you know, circulating around Twitter right now. There wasn't really any representation on stage. There was all white guys coming on stage talking about their games. I understand big names are a huge draw, having Ed Boon there, having Sam Lake there, Nicolas Cage, that was a surprise, but no women, no people of color, stuff like that. So I think that is some valid criticism that I could point out to Jeff and say, maybe, okay, next year you can try and alleviate that, just because diversity matters, representation matters for huge stages like this. But otherwise, if we're talking about the production and the pacing and the games that were shown, I think it was a really solid showcase. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think actually in terms of the diversity of things, if people do want to see a lot of that, I would watch the Day of the Devs stream, which is all indie games, and the indie scene is full of that for a lot of reasons, a lot of like diversified ideas, never mind even just the people that make them and that are involved. So I think that's a really good one. That is in the middle of being live broadcast at the moment as we're recording. So it's definitely something I'm gonna finish. I watched the first like couple of minutes and that's it. I always love that stuff. Indie games are right up my alley. So very, very excited to watch more of that. I think actually, I don't know that I noticed it in the moment until after that first hour even went by. I was like, oh, actually, yeah, this pace does feel manageable. I think like it doesn't feel like you're just being thrown a bunch of stuff, and it's cool to see more things. It's more variety. It's more games. Like, not going to complain about seeing more games, but also sometimes it's too much and you can't really appreciate what you're looking at. So they don't all have to hit for you as the viewer or anything, but so what? At least there's variety for all the gamers that are out there. So yeah, I think as far as the presentation goes, I think I had a good time watching it. Not everything worked for me as far as like the games themselves, but like I said, it is what it is. You're not going to hit a home run with every single person of the, hundreds of thousands of people that are pretty much going to be watching this over the next few days. It's totally fine. And I think he did a good job. There was a couple of genuine moments that he had that I'll get to a little later that I wrote down as a note, but in a good way. And it's always fun to see some big names come on and kind of have fun with it. Yeah, sure, it's all sort of rehearsed and scripted to a certain extent, but it didn't feel too forced, which always helps, I think. So let's start right off the bat, because I think this Prince of Persia game, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, was a premiere game, so no one has seen or really heard of this yet, as far as I know. I think that's what it was. This kicked things off for me in a really good way, because every time they showed a different scene, I was like, yup. And I'm sitting here on my couch. I decided to put it on the TV, on the YouTube app, and watch it there, with the dog beside me, talking to myself, going, yep, yep, oh shit, this is right up my alley. She was asleep, so she didn't hear me, but the dog would probably be like, yes, it is up your alley. So I am very excited about this game. Not only do I really enjoy the Prince of Persia series, I like that they're doing something different, or at least slightly different. And these kinds of games where there's like a lot of skillful traversal with a little bit of combat and everything, a la, Ori and the Blind Forest, for example. I've really, really enjoyed those games in the last few years, and this feels like that, but in the Prince of Persia universe. And I didn't know that I love those games as much until I started playing Ori, 5 years ago. I played the first one. So this is one of my most anticipated, and it was the first one they showed. So I don't know what you thought about it.
Can I interject quickly, because
Bobby's here.
Whoa, it's Bobby.
Let's just get out of the way first. Like, Prince of Persia Beyond, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That is the show. Let's just cut everything else out. Everything else was okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I did say right off the top that we're gonna get into Final Fantasy as soon as you arrive. So that's totally fine. We can put a pin in Prince of Persia, no problem.
Ubisoft put a pin in Prince of Persia first, yes. So we're just following their lead. But
that's very true. Bobby, you're still high right now, so let's talk about how high you are off of this announcement and this reveal of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Go for it, man. You are the expert out of us three, I would say, as far as the series goes and as far as this release goes. Have at it, man. The floor is yours.
Well, let's just get it out of the way. This is the best announcement of 2023. There's nothing that's been shown. Spider-Man, Final Fantasy VII, yes. I don't know. They closed it out in the best way possible. I mean, what more could any fan want than a 2-disc game on PlayStation 5 in 2024? But yeah, it looks
wild.
That blows my mind that we're getting into the realm of 200 gigabyte games on PlayStation.
And I don't have a disc version for my console. I am scared.
That's okay. You're just gonna have to buy a 4 terabyte SSD, but no,
for the
it looks
price
incredible.
of a console.
It's gone down. I think it's a lot more affordable in 2023 than it was when I bought mine in 2021. I think I paid like $280 for a 1 terabyte back then. So like I'm a sucker, but no, I mean, yeah, I don't know, it blew my mind that we all knew it was coming, but like there was that interjection in the middle of the conference where Jeff's like, we're about to show you this exclusive trailer, and it's not Final Fantasy, and then it
Yeah,
was
that
just
was that
What an
genuine
awesome
human
troll
moment.
move.
That was so funny. I don't know if it was on purpose, but
it was 100%.
Okay, all right. It's just I
I
love
think
how
so.
he was just like, no, not that. You know, He's just, he handled it very well. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, like great trailer. I mean, it teased what works, what we know was copying a little bit more of an open zone Midgar. I mean, looks incredible. I mean, will it satisfy people when it launches next year? That's my big question, because I mean, we all know, I mean, if you've played it, it's not a remake, it's a sequel. So like, what are they going to do now? Because now they're off the broken path, you know, like they have to please people who know the first game, and you know, a new generation that's starting with remake and rebirth. So it's like, yeah, great interjection, great trailer for Summer Game Fest. It was probably the only thing I really kind of took from this. Aside from, there's a couple trailers I think that really kind of stuck out, but I mean, this one was the only one that kind of just like, I don't know, made the show. I mean, this is I really miss E3. Let's put it that way. I miss E3. Summer Game Fest, like great rhyme and rhythm this year, so like it feels a lot better. I don't like how they did it before, where you know it was announcement after announcement after announcement, which is just hard to keep up when you're trying to write about it. And Guerrilla Collective had that issue yesterday where there was over 100 games announced. I'm like, why are you doing that to writers?
That's wild,
absurd.
man. Yeah,
it's like, why are you doing 100 games? Do like 30.
Yeah.
Space it out. Well, like, no, they did a great job with, the formatting. It's a lot better. It wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. It feels like a very reserved version of what we expect. So, I mean, I do like it, but I mean, I'm also kind of glad we didn't travel down there. I mean, no, disrespect to the people who went down there. It's just like, I'm like, this is one of those ones where I'm kind of glad I'm in the comfort of my home. I'm doing it on my own time. And maybe next year when E3's back, I would love to see everyone that we know down there, just to meet them finally, and get to know
Steve's
them.
like, sure, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, right?
Dreaming.
I mean, okay.
You gotta stay hopeful, right?
I mean, I guess I'll say hi to people. I guess, whatever.
I mean, part of like the biggest reason for me is I love to socialize with all these writers. I mean, like they're so talented, and like they're the ones who are doing it every day. So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited for Final Fantasy. That's my takeaway. That's a takeaway from you guys. Sorry.
No. That's I mean, everyone's got one or two things that are going to stand out in something like this, and it's easy to find those one or two things now, because like me and Steve were just saying, and Bobby, you just basically echoed, is that it's possible in this. There aren't those 100 games. You can pick a handful at the most and be like, I am satisfied with that choice, and that's what I'm going to play between now 100%. And like early 2024. And I think that's why this worked better than even like the Game Awards to a certain extent. Game Awards is not terrible or anything, but somehow that feels overbearing in a lot of ways and long. And Bobby, we sat there and we live.
We did it for 3 hours.
For 3 hours, man.
And
it was too much.
Like, I barely have 3 hours to myself a day. Like, there's no way I can dedicate to anything else. But
so
I mean, from the top, like I know you guys are saying Prince of Persia. It looks great. I do love Prince of Persia. I'm glad they delayed the remake for this. So like, at least there's this for people to look forward to, and it kind of reminds me of the Assassin's Creed Chronicles games, which I mean, I know not everyone liked, but like I did. So.
I mean, something different is always fun. I want to stay with Final Fantasy for 2 seconds at least, because
you just purchased PlayStation
Plus. I just got PlayStation Plus literally this morning, and not because I thought like, oh, this announcement's going to come. I have said for several months that it was going to be something I'm going to do. I'm going to get Plus, and I'm going to play through 7 Remake, and I'm going to make that something that I do at least in this calendar year. Now I have a year of Plus. I have no excuse. I'm going to do it within this calendar year for sure. And now I know when this potential release date is, so I have that window. which is great. So I'm going into this with very little memory of the original 7, both these games now, and playing it, but playing it in spurts when I was younger and not totally latching onto it. No Final Fantasy really has latched onto me. I'm just not that gamer. So my question to both of you, whoever wants to jump in first, is like what they showed based on the experience of the first game, story-wise, more especially, I guess, because gameplay, to me, it seems like it looks somewhat similar, if not exactly the same, which sounds to be a good thing. Story-wise, is this what you expected? Is this what you wanted? Is this obvious? Is this maybe not the best direction? I don't know what you guys think about that.
No, we're talking.
I'll jump in quickly. Just
Rebirth.
Yeah, for Rebirth. Yeah, based on the trailer that they showed.
Okay. Yeah, let's event.
Yeah, I'll jump in quickly just because I think you and me, Dave, are pretty 1-to-1. I played the original Final Fantasy VII probably like halfway through, and then I kind of just gave up because, like you, I'm historically not a Final Fantasy person, so I just never went ahead and saw it through to the end. So I don't really remember all that much. And coming into this trailer, I was like, couldn't tell you what's going on. And that's what I love about it, is that I know probably for Bobby and for diehard fans, there's so many little tidbits of information that they can draw from and be like, oh my God, they're doing this. They're gonna put this on its head and kind of revitalize this thread from the old game and maybe intertwine like some new aspects and stuff. For me, I'm just along for the ride, and that's kind of the way I want it to be. I'm not going to be looking at like Wikipedia articles talking about what this game could be setting up, where it could be going, and everything. I'm just going to play it next year, just like you, going with fresh eyes and everything, and hopefully have a good time with it, because so far with Remake, that's exactly how it was, where we get to the end, they start doing what they do with the franchise and everything, not to go into spoilers or anything, but you get to that moment where the kind of the other shoe drops and you're like, oh, I get it, and I got enough out of that to appreciate it, but not enough to be like, oh, now I'm going to be at my cork board, with the red string, doing what I'm sure Bobby does every night before he goes to sleep. So I'm coming in, like I said, very close to you, Dave, which I like. I'm in a good place.
Okay, sweet. Bobby, what about you, man?
I mean, the premise of like Remake and Rebirth is now it's like unknown territory. So the first game's was beat for beat kind of what Final Fantasy VII original intro was. So like you go to Midgar, you bomb the reactors, and it kind of expanded on that. So that's familiar for everybody. Everyone kind of knows what happened, and then towards the end, it kind of took a left turn to unknown territory, and it ended on a cliffhanger that we've never seen before for the series. And it's been like 3 years. So with Rebirth, it's something completely unknown. Like their whole tagline is "The unknown journey continues," because it's unknown territory for the characters. It's unknown territory for you or me or anyone playing it. So it's something like it's basically a whole new mystery now. It's like, what are they gonna do? Because like I've mentioned previously, it's not a remake. It's a sequel. It's a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. And basically, it looks they're going to try to right the wrongs of Final Fantasy VII and what happened there, like specifically with a couple characters and I guess the way the plot unfolded. So I mean, what we saw was just maybe the first 3 or 4 hours of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like it picks up in one of the small towns. Like they stop like a bed and breakfast, and they kind of regroup and like plan what their next move is and like where they should go. And
I mean, if you're gonna plan anything to save the world, you're gonna do it over brunch, right? So you're gonna
exactly. But yeah, no, I mean,
right. You need some mimosas.
Yeah,
I would do anything with mimosas, but yeah, no,
seriously.
I mean. It's straight up. I mean, there's just so many things. I'm like in my head right now. I'm like, where are they gonna go with it? Why?
Well,
like,
that's
why
good.
Are they there?
It's good that there's
like,
a lot of unexpected stuff there for long-term fans like that, because it could be they could rehash things or whatever. But it sounds like they're still sort of striking that balance, and like you said, it's a setup for something new and a sequel, which is cool.
Exactly it. So like, and here's the thing: like, if you want the original, there's always the original. Like we've always said this.
Right.
There are people who have modded the original game to make it literally brand new. So you want to experience it a new way, you can do that on a computer these days. Like I've set up my version of Final Fantasy 7 on my computer, and like I added a bunch of mods, and it plays like a modern game. So if you want that core experience, it's still there. This is for something for a new generation of people, you know, who don't want that turn-based combat. And to be fair, this is the best battle system Final Fantasy has ever had. It's Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Rebirth. So, I mean, I want to see what else they're going to do with it. Like, we saw there's synergy attacks, which were introduced in Intergrade. So, basically, like, you will build bonds with your characters. And as you get to know them and, like, how they operate in battle, like, you unlock synergy attacks where, like, 2 or 3 people team up on one character and just unleash, like, you know, you saw, like, special
combos
moves
and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it looks awesome. I mean, honestly, like, I have no problem. I think I've said this in the past before. I have no problem with turn-based combat and RPGs and stuff. It's great if that's the game. I'm gonna get into it if I like the game and stuff, right? But I do like what I've seen, even though I haven't had my hands on it. So I think like those types of things, like you just mentioned, seem like an addition and an expansion of what they're doing with the ideas, and it seems fun to play, not just because of the story and the characters, but because the actual gameplay itself also seems fresh and cool. So I mean, I'm there for it. So
100%. Like it's clear this is more than just a project for Square Enix. Like this is their legacy. This is the game that really put them on the map and let everyone know what they do. And really, I trust them to treat it with the utmost respect, not only for themselves but for all the fans and anyone that is interested in Final Fantasy or video games. It's clearly a passion project for everyone. So like I think that they're doing right by the series and this entry in particular, and for newcomers. So like really, I mean,
it's technically it's going to be me. So that's it's great to hear that, because I'm essentially that person. Even though I have a little bit of experience, it doesn't really count, I think. So I would consider myself
if you played a game, I mean, you kind of know. But like, I mean, for anyone who hasn't played the original, I mean, I still think you should play it. You'll appreciate Remake and Rebirth a lot more, just because, I mean,
I just need the time, which I don't have. That's the issue. Is like
biggest problem.
That's the issue with it, right? Because look at all the games that we saw here. Like, there's definitely going to be a decent amount of these that I'm gonna at least attempt to get my hands on.
I'm still cleaning up my backlog from April. Like, I still haven't played Star Wars Jedi. I still haven't touched Diablo. Like I like I told you guys this afternoon, I'm like 220 hours into Tears of the Kingdom, and I don't want to stop. Like it's just like they've built this world where I don't want to leave it yet. So it's like now I'm prioritizing. Like, I have all these games that I have to add to my backlog just because Tears of the Kingdom is just so much fun. But I mean, so luckily with Final Fantasy 7, like they've added like boosters for like if you want to play it like on your Switch. I mean, like you can add, you know, infinite limit breaks, max health. Like there are ways to just play it right through story mode. Basically, that's what I appreciate about Square Enix doing that. So, so you could clear in about 25 hours, right? So that's literally a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a more reasonable time, because there's a lot of games that are about that length, and you know, we play games like that around that all the time. So okay, I want to move on to the next big announcement. I would say, I think it was the second, maybe third announcement of the whole show. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat 1 for a little bit. I don't know if you guys have a lot of experience with the last couple. I do not. I have more experience with the Injustice games, right? Injustice, the DC ones, which I really like. And I know it's very similar combat system and everything. And so I've played those ones. I think the last MK game I played was 9. Maybe it's 8. But now I don't even remember anymore because it's been a while. But this looks flashy. This looks cool as far as story goes. That's the thing that they're really, going with. And, it's a cool way to sort of bring back old versions of these characters that we recognize, have them younger in some ways, and sort of have a reason for that, instead of just saying, hey, guess what? It's just called Mortal Kombat 1, and we just chose to just do it. Like, that's what we're doing. We're not just remaking it. So there's story to it here, and for anyone that's gone through it sounds like they're going to keep that going, which is a nice, strong way of doing it, which the Injustice games have had pretty cool single-player story stuff going on, so that's fun. Steve, I'll go to you first. Anything about the Mortal Kombat 1 stuff that's really tickling your fancy there?
I would say everything, just based on everything that Ed Boon talked about when he came out on stage. Yeah, basically, he talked about how MK11 kind of ended and rebooted the franchise. So, like you're saying, it's not just the rebooting it for the sake of starting the franchise over again. There's a narrative tied to it, and I think that's a really smart way of not only continuing what the franchise has already done, but provide like an open gateway for new players or players who have not touched an MK game in a long time to come back into the fold and kind of have a starting ground to get into this game. I think, yeah, just based on the combat, the story, the new, cameo fighters is a really cool mechanic that they're introducing in this game. Everything about it, I think, is just they're nailing it. And I think NetherRealm hardly ever misses. I think,
Yeah, it's
maybe
been a
with the
while.
exception of MKX a few years ago, that was like lukewarm. Yeah, everything about this is speaking to me, and just the entire FGC has eaten well this year. Between Street Fighter, now this, and Tekken.
Yeah.
It's a really good year for the Street Fighter or the fighting game community. So yeah, looking forward to playing this myself. I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat fan. Like, I'm not a aficionado. I'm not really that good at it, but
Yeah.
I'll always try to play it. And especially knowing where this story goes and kind of how it is this open entry for fair weather fans to kind of get into. That's what's really speaking to me, is that I can use this as a jumping off point and kind of refamiliarize myself not only with the mechanics but all these characters.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, when I saw the other characters jumping in and out, like the sort of side character, the cameo system or whatever, it just reminded me of Marvel vs. Capcom, which I love those games, and I love how you can do that. That's always been kind of fun, and yeah, that it looks cool. It's fatalities, it's violent, it's crazy, all that kind of stuff. So I'm here for it. It looks pretty cool. I'm gonna try and obviously do my best to play it. I am terrible at fighting games unless it is more Marvel vs. Capcom. So even then, I wouldn't call myself all that great. So I'm kind of scared to jump into these games sometimes. So it's nice that they have more robust single player stuff and things that you can play with friends, as opposed to always the need to jump online, which just ends up, being an ass whooping, to be honest. So, Bobby, what about yourself? Any MK love here?
Yeah, I mean, I've played them since I was a kid, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the series, and I'm excited, but I'm just kind of cautious because I mean, Mortal Kombat, this is like what, the second reboot in like what, a decade? So I'm just kind of
True.
curious
Yeah.
because like they've kind of retreaded, like they just keep running into the same problem where it's a circular issue where they just keep going through the same motions, and it's like, how are they going to reboot it now for the second time? Like, what is their plan? Like, I know they're saying they're remixing stories, and the plan is to do new character combos, like new bonds and stuff like that between characters, but like it's still Mortal Kombat at the end of the day. Like, it's about this tournament, it's about these characters, but like I'm more curious about how they're going to change that, because that's kind of always been their boon, right? It's just like, here's what we are, and they've always kind of suffered in the storytelling. And granted, we don't play fighters for story, but I've always kind of thought Mortal Kombat stood out amongst the rest of them, just because like the concept was a little bit more interesting than regular Street Fighter or Guilty Gear and stuff like that. But presentation wise, looks incredible. I think it's probably the best. It looks as good as Street Fighter 6, and I'm kind of curious to see if there's any crossover between them. Like, are they going to take any mechanics from Street Fighter 6? Like, are they going to add like that hub world that Street Fighter 6 has? Are they going to do anything like that? That's more what I'm curious about.
Yeah. Well, they said we're going to find out a little bit more on stage. They said, or later in the summer, we're going to find out a little bit more, and then it's out this year. So they're still going to hit that mark as well, which is cool. So yeah, violent fighting fun. That's Mortal Kombat. More of that, and we'll hear a little bit more as far as characters go and stuff. I think is pretty much for the most part. I don't know if they're going to say too much about the story, but probably save that.
Yeah, they have some great characters already.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
the faster this comes out, the faster we get a new Injustice. That's kind of where I'm at.
Right. Yeah.
I would
Fair.
like a new Injustice. Like, just
Yeah,
give us
those are a
something new.
ton of fun. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so there's a couple like larger, I would say like more quote unquote AAA releases that we can jump on, and then maybe just like rapid fire some of the smaller ones or whatever. So we can we can jump to Alan Wake 2 or Spider-Man. I think those are the two big ones elsewhere. So
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake. Let's
Alan
okay.
Wake.
Go ahead,
Start with
Steve.
Alan Wake.
Let's talk Alan
Sonic
Wake.
Superstars I want to talk about. I
Yes.
thought that looked incredible.
Gross.
Looks good.
Let's talk about Alan Wake, which
Let's
is
talk
a
about Alan
superior
Wake,
game
yeah.
that we do not deserve. I am shocked. Again, we've talked about it on the show and everything, but like Alan Wake is a game that just surprises me that it actually exists. The more we see of it, I'm like, we're actually living in an age, a year where Remedy is going back to the well, delivering on Alan Wake, and it actually being a true sequel to what we got back all those years ago. I think having Sam Lake come up on stage, I don't think that his dialogue with Jeff Keighley was the best in terms of just explaining what the game is, and kind of a lot of it was cryptic. So, but that being said, I think there was at least a baseline there to kind of understand, okay, we are picking up where the cliffhanger of number one ended off. And Sam even said that it's not a prerequisite to go play the first one again, even though you really should. It's a good game.
Yeah,
but I like that, this new Sage or Saga,
yeah.
I believe is the new character. She's kind of the conduit for new players to come in, kind of understand this universe and get up to speed on what's going on. But yeah, the gameplay very much feels like a new modern take on the survival horror genre. It's more akin to like Resident Evil 4, where it is fast paced. The gunplay feels a lot more frenetic. Versus Alan Wake, which was very slow, I think almost to its detriment in terms of it, keeping it like its agelessness. So staying relevant in terms of its gameplay. But yeah, everything that they're showing from this, I love. I just can't wait for October to come, and we'll talk about other October-based games soon enough. But yeah, October's really filling out with games that I just can't wait to sink my teeth into.
Yeah, Bobby, what's the Alan Wake take? Haha. I'm so clever.
We're not going to comment on that comment you had, but
don't draw attention to it. I know it's really good. You don't have to draw attention.
Let's just pretend it never happened. That's fine. I'm cool with that. We can do that. But it was good. It was okay. I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
I'll take it.
I don't know. Like I mean, I'm not the biggest Alan Wake fan. Like I did play it. I liked it. I played the remaster last year, and like I thought it was good. But I mean, did we see enough today to make a judgment? I know we saw about 3 minutes of gameplay, and like it looks cool. I mean, like I like that you're playing as a new character, and like it's a different approach to Alan Wake's gameplay. So like, I mean, I'm still undecided whether I think it's gonna be a day one for me. But like what we're seeing, it looks so far incredible. It's just we're in a world post Control, and Control is kind of like the standard of Remedy now. So it's like, can it live up to the potential that Remedy left with Control and their expansions?
That's
right?
fair.
That was kind of where that's like the pinnacle of what they've done. Like I know Max Payne 3 is my favorite Rockstar game, and I kind of want some. So I don't even want to bring up Max Payne 3. I'm just thinking Max Payne 3 just because Remedy. But
because Sam Lake is,
and we heard his voice. I just because we hear his voice in the trailer. I'm like, oh, I want Max Payne 4. Like I know. Oh, that's what I was thinking about. But
I wish that this was Max Payne. That was her partner. I wish that'd be amazing.
I would love that. Like it would just blow my mind.
Just draw everything together. It would be amazing. But I know it's Rockstar, right? So it's not under their.
Yeah.
I just So all said and I mean, I'll play it. I really hope it does turn out to be as good as it looks. It's just Control ruined a lot of games for me.
Yeah, Control's amazing. This whole like psychedelic world and how everything is connected is really great.
Yeah, it's such a perfect.
I did like that he said that you play as both characters and it's for the most part not streamlined, so you can kind of switch between the I can't remember the term, if it's the dark dimension or dark world to the real world, and you can flip between, so you can essentially play as Alan Wake or as Saga almost, he said almost to completion. So almost basically probably until the end of the game or close to like the last chapter or however they split it up. And then, you know, it sort of probably tailors the story from there. And that's cool. I like that. So if you're vibing with one story and you want to just stay in that world kind of thing, like that's cool that they give you that choice. For me, I feel like I'm gonna want to flip back and forth because it'd be kind of cool to experience two different versions of what could be the same world or, you know, whatever. But I like that aspect of it. The survival horror part of it is cool, but it's the only thing that doesn't always work for me in games. So sure, the first one is 13, 14 years old now. Like you said, Steve, the gameplay's not perfect. It feels a little bit dated now. That's totally fine. But I like the vibe of that game, and I don't want this to be too horror, because horror games itself don't vibe with me all that well. And I know that the Resident Evil remake, like I played 2 and it sounds like 4 is somewhat similar. Though that works for me. So if it's to that extent, then that's fine. And it seems like pace-wise it could be very similar. So I just wanted to go there and not be... I know this is not what it's going to be, but I don't want it to be Five Nights at Freddy's Alan Wake 2. You know what I mean? So that kind of extreme...
100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree because Alan Wake is known for... It's more like subdued horror. It's all about getting in your head. It's all about the atmosphere, the storytelling. That's what's creepy about Alan Wake. It's not putting anything in your face.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's not about, you know, throwing horror elements in your face and just having you know, have a jump scare for no reason. It's all about, you know, that auteur-based, you know, horror. So I hope that they maintain it to your point, Dave. I hope that they don't stray too far away from the path. The other thing I just wanted to quickly go back and touch on, because Bobby, you brought it up, was the control aspect of it. Because, and whatever, it's been years. Control's DLC, like, confirmed that Control and Alan Wake exist in the same universe. It's a connected shared thing, the Remedy universe or whatever. So I'm wondering, like, how many Easter eggs or how many different setups and ties we're going to get to maybe a Control 2 or something kind of like...
Oh man, I would kill for
crossover.
Oh man,
it'd be so
it's
great.
Like Quantum Break. I would love to see a Quantum Break, like just a follow up, just like a little hint saying, "Hey, we're playing Quantum Break 2." I love that game. It was the
something like that,
Control. But yeah, I love the Remedy universe. Whatever they're doing, like I believe in it. It's just
they have ideas. They have ideas. They're clearly going for it.
Yeah, that's it. I think I like the more the fast paced gameplay compared to Alan Wake, because like it's very, I guess I want to say conservative. Like it's just like
it's methodical. It's sort of like the flashlight thing and stuff. Like it seems like that flashlight sort of mechanic is still kind of there. To what extent and how it works exactly.
Like I do like that. It's just I mean, maybe they're. I mean, they're definitely doing something with. Like I like what they're doing with Alan Wake 2. It's just things have changed since the last one came out, and like gameplay has evolved to the point where it's just like we have games like Control now. So it's like, how are they going to match them?
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. It was cool to have it there and have a little bit of an extra look. I don't think it was too extensive, but we got something. And it seems like they are all good for release date, which is exactly what we confirmed with the next Spider-Man game as well. We got an October 20th release date on PlayStation 5. We got a little tidbit of information about Venom and the symbiote, and then we got the I guess you could call it cover art, is essentially what we got. So October 20th, they're sticking to it. Sounds like that's pretty much all said and done and confirmed. So that's cool. Only a few more months away. Steve, you mentioned October is jam packed. That's it. All you need is a couple games to jam pack October. So and another confirmation that this is a much bigger game. And then finally, like sort of before we sort of, if there's anything else to dig into with it, I find it interesting that they chose to reveal that Venom is not Eddie Brock. So story-wise, that is something different. They said specifically they want to do something different and unique, and be its own story line, I guess you could call it. That's cool. So that's a fun way to do things, and that's something exciting. So that's something we'll discover as we play the game. something new in the comic world is always fun, and if it's in games, even better, in my opinion. So, that's cool. Anyways, that's Spider-Man. That's essentially what we got.
Are we gonna guess who it is? Should we just throw out
I
guesses
mean-
now so we can come back to it?
I mean, don't we already know?
Do we? I don't know.
I mean, I thought it was pretty obvious who it's gonna be. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why when they were
let's
like,
see
"It's
what-
not Eddie Brock," I was like, "Yeah, no shit. It's been 2 games. You've
Yeah.
been setting it up." I don't know.
I know. I
Whatever.
just
Maybe people don't know.
maybe people don't know, and also maybe it's not that. I don't know.
I mean, my two. If we're gonna guess, the most obvious we all know is Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
The second I think is gonna be like a fake out where we're introduced to Flash Thompson in some capacity, and it's him.
Mm.
And given that he becomes Ancient Venom at some point,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
sick.
they have said, I mean, with the Craven reveal a few weeks ago and stuff too, like there's going to be a lot of, and he said it again or they mentioned it again on stage today that it was, there's a lot more characters in this because the game is bigger and they're doing more with it. So it could be a variety of other things that are going on that lead to it. And it seems like, maybe a quarter, halfway through the game is sort of when this may happen. But regardless of where it happens, it's, yeah, I mean, it could be the quote unquote obvious one, but I prefer a surprise. I prefer not even having an idea. So.
yeah, I mean, let's just leave it up to surprise. But
Yeah.
here's the other question: are we gonna see a Spider-Verse Easter egg?
Oh,
Given
yeah.
how we've already seen the
why
game
not?
in the movie, and Peter Parker, Spider-Man appeared in the movie as a cameo. Are we gonna see like my dream right now would be like a expansion where it's just like, here's the Spider-Verse, go play.
Yeah, I mean, what they could do, I mean, they sort of had it with, was it like the comic book suit or something like that in the first one, where it sort of changed the way that, like, they could do that, but on like a larger scale, maybe, like they could do something like that.
I could see them doing like a Peter B. Parker skin for Peter, and then like Miles, the animated version for Miles. Like skins, sure, totally, but like Easter eggs or story stuff, not a chance in hell. I don't see that.
Maybe Ghost Spider-Gwen shows up in the form that she's in the movie. That would be.
It'd be cool if they if they had like an expansion with Spider-Gwen, or
even if it's a small thing,
I would actually love Insomniac if they did. They righted their wrongs and restored Peter's face to what it was. Because I hate his new face. Like that's my biggest complaint about this game. Is
I know, right?
I'm not ready. Never take your mask off, Spider-Man. I don't want to see your face.
Yeah. Well, maybe he won't be able to with the symbiote all over him. Maybe he's just going to be on the entire time, and he's just that. So,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, everything so far looks good. It's just
it looks good. Yeah.
It looks great. It looks so good.
Yeah, let's rapid fire a couple things as well, so we don't have like a couple things that sort of stood out. I'm just gonna say things quickly that I was like, oh, this is cool. Where is it? Prince of Persia we already talked about. I think Sonic Superstars looks like it could be kind of cool. I don't love Sonic games, but looks kind of cool. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 looks like it's just gonna be a shit show of crazy alien killing. So, in co-op, like that could be a lot of fun. That looks kind of cool. And then we got a little bit of a better look at Banishers Ghost of Edin, which I think we saw really small snippet of, I think at Game Awards or last year's Summer Games Fest. So that's cool that we kind of saw what that could be and what the story is sort of like. And it seems like it's kind of going for like a little bit of a deeper, more emotional sort of approach to a story, and interesting sort of elements of like going back in time and coming into the current timeline and stuff. So those are the ones that sort of stood out to me. Steve, any rapid fires?
I'll just throw a one, and that's Liza P, the Pinocchio-inspired Dark Souls game. This is a game that's been on my radar ever since I first saw it. They gave the release date of September 19th, which is great. I think that's an awesome spot. A week or so after Starfield. Hopefully people don't overlook it because it succeeds a very big RPG. But a demo is available right now, and I am just counting down the moments until I can just jump over to my Xbox and start playing this, because I'm looking forward to this game. Me too. based on the aesthetic of it and just the idea around it, like a horror Dark Souls Pinocchio is fucking awesome.
I was disappointed after Steel Rising, so yeah, I really hope this makes up for Steel Rising because like I dropped that game so fast. It was just like, no,
Yeah,
this is not what I wanted. But so far, so good, right? So yeah,
Yeah, I guess the Souls-ish, if that's the ongoing term of to describe games like this, is kind of what the selling point is for at least for you, Steve. I guess Bobby, is it a little bit for you as well?
yeah.
it's the mechanics. Like it's just
Yeah.
that mechanic, that learning curve where you lose and you're like, how do I beat this guy? And you just learn their moves and timings and pairing. Like that stuff is like what I mean. It's just that it's like a high. You get high off like overcoming the obstacles in front of you when you're playing because like,
I
it's
feel
just
like
a,
yeah, just put it in my veins.
yeah, it is.
Put it right in the.
I never even thought of this until this moment, actually, Bobby. The way that you just describe that, which it has been described in similar ways before. It's not like a completely out there way of talking about those sort of Souls-like type of mechanics and stuff, and sort of knowing patterns of bosses and stuff. There's even that in like Diablo 4. Like there's a lot. That's in a lot of games.
Kids. That's what we've always done as kids, right? We have to.
Yeah,
I remember doing that as a kid, like just memorizing patterns and movements, and like this is just what happens now in 2023.
I guess like yeah, my version of that is the Prince of Persia game, Celeste, Ori and the Blind Forest series.
Sure.
Like you're not. I mean, there are battles, there are sort of boss fights that have but that's not really the core of the game. So you're not. What I like is being able to find the patterns of how I have to jump and traverse rather than the patterns of the enemy that's attacking me for like 15 minutes or whatever. So it's sort of a similar thing. And then when I complete it, I'm on the platform, I'm on the top of the hill, or I'm on the safe spot at the end of that like large sequence, and I'm like, oh, that feels good. That was awesome, even if it took me 50 times to complete. So it's in a very similar way, and somehow that works for me more than the Elden Ring, Souls, and this Life of P. Am I saying? Is that what it? Yeah. Lies of P. Somehow that version of it works better for my gameplay style or my feeling of it or whatever. So, anyways,
two sides of the same coin.
I think
sure.
It's totally that's totally valid.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people do think of difficult games like the way that you do, Dave, where they're looking at patterns in terms of like the level and the cadence of how to get through that. A lot of people, I think, do overlook Soulsborne games as you're trying to figure out a pattern of a certain enemy or a certain boss, and they just think of it as it's just brutally hard. But once you do understand like the pattern of a boss, it just becomes like almost like a dance to a certain extent, where it's like, okay, now I gotta dodge this, dodge that, and like that's exactly like how my brain processes, similar to yours, to levels and stuff like that. Like same with Cuphead. I mean, Cuphead was just understanding how a boss reacts to my attacks, and then just counteracting that, and that's what I love about those kinds of games. But yeah, I think it's totally valid, both sides of it. Like Bobby said, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, it kind of is. Anyways, I just had like a little bit of an epiphany, guys. I just thought I would share it with you. That's all. Just
I mean, try the demo. Like, that's the demo. There's a demo. Try and see if you like it.
I will. I think I will. I totally did not take note that there was one. It like you said, Steve, and Bobby, you mentioned too that just the idea of this whole like Pinocchio horror-ish type of like setting. I was like, this is so weird, but probably cool. So okay, the demo is what I'll try and do. I'm sort of I gotta check the timing of it. I'm kind of away from my console for a little bit, but I'll queue it up, and if I get a chance to play it, I'll report back for sure. So I'll take note of that. Bobby, any other rapid fire? You want to talk about Sonic a little bit? You mentioned Sonic earlier.
I mean, there's not much to say. It looks colorful. I mean, I hope it's better than Sonic the Hedgehog Episode 4, because that game was just terrible. It's a Sonic game. Like you get it's the same roller coaster ride every time they announce a new Sonic game. It's like, oh my god, this looks great, and then it comes out and it's like, okay, this is okay. but I do like that they kind of updated the graphics. It looks a lot more colorful. You can now play as like Sonic, Tails, Amy, Rose, and Knuckles. So like that's cool. It looks a little. It feels like an evolution of the 2D Sonic games finally, in a way that it's not just speed. There's like new mechanics. There's a lot of things that look interesting in the trailer, but it's still a little bit early. We still have a couple months till release, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on it for myself and see if it ends up being as good as it looks. That's pretty much it for me on that game.
There was one other one. I just want to make sure I got the name right here. It is Lysfanga, I think it was called.
Yeah, Lysfanga. I saw that. Look, that looked pretty cool. It looks like kind of like a Hades game.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a top-down.
Warrior.
Yeah, sort of a little bit of top-down isometric type thing, and you can split your character into like her ghost form or souls or something, and then you can battle enemies by sort of splitting yourself up to different areas of the little battle arena, which looks somewhat similar to what Hades does, like you just said. I don't know, I just think it's a cool idea, cool mechanic and setting. It seems like it has a little bit of personality and stuff too, which is kind of cool. I don't know, that kind of stuff kind of works for me, so that's something I'm going to put on my radar too. It looked like a cool idea.
I have one other one, and I don't want to talk about it in a very positive light, but it's Palworld. It's the one that's just a blatant Pokemon ripoff that clearly stole some assets from that game. And I will be shocked if this does not get like a cease and desist from Nintendo. There were some, go back to that trailer, because there are some Pokemon and some character animations that are like 1-for-1, and I would be shocked if Nintendo ever lets this see the light of day.
It's very interesting how close some of them were. I agree. I'm not even a huge Pokemon guy, and there was a few in there where I was like, that guy's just like a little chubbier than the Pokemon one. Otherwise, what's the difference?
Okay, I see it now. This is Pokemon,
right? It's just Pokemon, and they're like, it's Pokemon with guns. And I was like, excuse me? Whoa, Nintendo is not gonna like that at all.
For all we know, it could be amazing. So who knows, right? So I mean, yeah, it looks kind of uninspired, but I mean, who knows? So we'll see. I'm surprised we didn't see that Doke V game, because that looks pretty fun. And I know Jeff was like,
"Oh my god, I can't wait for that game."
Yes. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen that, and that's been a couple years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, it was supposed to come out this year, actually.
Oh, was it?
With COVID, I whatever they say, I take it. I add a year to it. Like it has to be.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to hear that song again.
Yeah, I love that song. I actually thought it was pretty good, but there's a couple games in this showcase that stood out. I don't know if you guys like the Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. That looks cool. I think that looks like a lot of fun. They had John Rhys Davies return as Gimli, so like you're playing clearly as Gimli.
I like that, the idea. I like what the mechanics seem to be doing. So I'm somewhat interested. I'm not really a huge Lord of the Rings guy, but I am interested in that sort of idea of that game. So really, it doesn't matter what the setting is. I was like, okay, you build something, and it's sort of like semi. Oh my god, tower defense in some ways. It seems like.
Yeah.
Orcs Must Die. That's what it kind of seemed like. It's not that where there's waves. I don't think there's going to be like literally numbered and timed waves and stuff, but where it's, third person, but you're also building stuff. So, cool idea. Yeah.
It just felt very weird that we got a Lord of the Rings announcement right after Gollum. I kind of got shell shock once I saw that. I was like, oh, okay, let's chill out. We've reached our Lord of the Rings quota for the year now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think it's from a different developer, so like I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I mean Gollum just short end of the stick on that one.
Yeah.
So it's free range. Never heard of them, but
we saw more of what's it called? Where is it now? I can't find the name of it.
Like a dragon? Gaiden? Is that what you're talking about?
There's that. Yeah, because I know a lot of people love that. I have not played those games, so is that looking pretty good?
Incredible. Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't find it. We talked about it in the PlayStation showcase too. What the heck's it called? Immortals of Avia.
Oh,
that one. So we got a little bit more of the gameplay. Yeah, it's very flashy. Lots is going on there. It seems very epic, which is cool. I still have the same thought that I said, a month ago when we did that. I wish it was third person. It just seems like it's just too chaotic in my face, but that's just a personal preference. So, but it's out soon. It's out in just over a month, which is crazy. July 20th. So, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that looked cool. I mean, what else looked cool? I mean, just to break down, I mean, there was some good announcements, but I mean,
Fortnite has Transformers.
Cool.
What's that?
I don't really, I don't play Fortnite, but Wayfinders is kind of. I played the beta. It was a lot of fun. It's kind of like it feels like what was it called? Kingdoms of Amalur. It's kind of like a free to play version of that, and I love that game.
Oh yeah, that was a good game. Yeah.
So it plays similar to that. The quests are kind of similar. The mechanics feel similar. So it feels like an evolution of that, and I'm really looking forward to that because it's free to play, and it's out this summer. So that one I'm looking forward to, and I'm going to keep an eye on.
Similar to Steve, how you teed up Palworld, where it's like I don't know if this is for a good reason. This is not really games, but what'd you guys think of the Twisted Metal look there?
Oh, it looks terrible.
Yeah, that's a big mess.
That was.
I think it's because it's on Peacock. It's gonna fail. That's why.
I don't know. I mean, they're going for a cheeky, adult comedy type of like semi-violent type of. I sort of. It seems like, I don't know. They didn't hit their marks. Like it's just. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It just didn't feel right. So anyways, I'm flipping through the article on consolecreatures.com, everybody. We have it for full breakdown. Should have mentioned it off the top, but yeah.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Dennis who has been putting in the work to break down I've done these articles before, the recaps of everything that came out. It's a lot of work. I just want to give some love to Dennis because there's a lot.
A time sink, but like to have it there like that means like it's easy to find everything in one spot, and like it's like writing guides, like that's like the most critical part of any of these announcements. Just like here's your hub, here's all the announcements. Yes. So like shout out to Dennis. Like
yeah, I should probably just edit this towards the beginning of the episode so everyone just knows it right off the top. That's probably what I should do. I feel like I will. Maybe I will. I'm going to put a pin in this and be like, I'm going to put this off the top so that we're not doing this an hour into it. So, and actually, I'm going to write that down right now because I'm going to find a way to put that in. Article plug. Boom. Put that in right there. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about there?
I have one thing, and I'm kind of surprised given all the talk in the past like 2 days. So
yeah.
Final Fantasy 9, like everyone's saying, like there's a remake coming, there's something happening, it's in the mix, it's gonna be more traditional turn-based, and I kind of hoped we'd get like a little hint today, but we got nothing.
Yeah,
and there was a really cool fan demo, a fan non-playable demo that launched called the Memoria Project yesterday, and it's like a 25-minute demo of the opening section of Final Fantasy 9, and like
it looks crazy cool.
It looks incredible, so and just it watching that yesterday just gave me this feeling like not nostalgia, but just like this like calming and like everything's good in life right now. Like it just brought me back to being a kid, and like it was just like, oh man,
simpler times, Bobby. Simpler times. Yeah.
Anytime I play that opening 2-hour section of Final Fantasy 9 is just like it's just like the best thing of the day. Of like that. Whatever time I'm doing something, it's just like I love that section. It's just so magical, and like I very few games have been able to replicate that feeling since then.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we finally get that. That would be great because that 24-minute video that's been out in the last few days, like that it looked amazing. So if it's anything even close to that, it doesn't even have to be that, but if it's close to that, it's like, oh yeah, like. There's something about it there, and the whole traditional turn-based stuff, totally great. Go for it. That just like make it happen. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be 7 Remake for it to be a quote unquote remake. So, yeah. So we're gonna have continued coverage throughout the week. We're gonna be having, whether it's on the website, whether it's on the podcast feed, we'll have some plans in place in order to talk about the Xbox and Starfield information, and everything's gonna be dropping for that. So if you're listening to this before that happens, look forward to our coverage for that. Everything at consolecreatures.com and on your podcast feed for this podcast as well. Steve, until that time, good sir, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere online at Asfigvari.
Amazing. Bobby, editor extraordinaire, sir. What about you, man? And what about our console creature stuff?
You can find me, B. Pashalitis, on Twitter. You can find us on Console Creature on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Pod, and hopefully a new venue soon that we're just kicking off soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. I should put that at the front of the episode too. No. Oh man, editing magic. You can find me at Twitter at Dave Petro. It's pretty much where I'll hang out, whether people see stuff you post on Twitter anymore or not. It is what it is. But also some reviews coming at Console Creatures, and again, more from this podcast coming up in the future, everybody. So thank you for joining us once again. Enjoy the rest of the Summer Game Fest and the rest of your week. We will talk to you soon. Goodbye.